Today is all about a G.I. Joe samurai warrior from Sacktown. Yes, a samurai from California. Let's talk about Budo. Thanks for watching JLS Comics. If you do like the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I upload videos just like this every week. Okay, let's jump into our story. Kyle Jessa was born in Sacramento, California. Kyle can trace his lineage back many generations. His great-great-grandfather was a fencing master in Japan and was part of one of the last great samurai warrior families of Japan. In the letters page of G.I. Joe Special Missions 21, Larry Hama made very clear that this family had no connection to the Arashikage ninja clan, although this was changed later, but let's talk about that in a moment. And so this fencing master's son moved to America and found work on the railways as a track worker on the Rocky Mountain line. It was critical work that connected the East to the mining towns of the West and the Colorado Territory, and then the Pacific Coast by providing transit through the passes and the heights of the Rocky Mountain Range. That track worker's son, in turn, moved to California to become a farmer. And then his son earned a medical degree to become an orthodontist in Sacramento and in the Bay Area. It was in this environment that Kyle grew up, comfortably upper middle class and deeply aware of his family's history. However, he was influenced by his peers and became recalcitrant and obstreperous. It's here that he developed his interest in heavy metal and bikes. In fact, he likes to wrench around the garage while working on his panhead Harley-Davidson motorcycle. On Kyle's 18th birthday, he was presented with the family's sword and a haiku. The great sword sheath glitters brightly in the dark, unseen and at rest. Kyle started practicing martial arts, which calmed down his rebellious side a great deal. After a time, he lost his counterculturist nature and began to exude calm confidence and centeredness of balance and focus and positive energy. Kyle excelled with martial arts and earning a 5th degree black belt in 3 unnamed martial arts and a 5th degree black belt in Iaido, a martial art that is an innate part of Budo. Here I mean Budo as in Japanese martial arts. However, this is also where Kyle got his codename, as a nod of respect to his training and his heritage. That said, according to the Ultimate Guide to G.I. Joe, working names for Budo included Daito, meaning longsword, Katana, the traditional curved samurai sword, and Slasher, though that sounds like a reindeer that listens to heavy metal. Anyhow, it was this very respect and reverence for tradition and history and the hierarchy of his patriarchal family that played well when he decided to join the United States Army. His Devil's Due Data Desk profile regards this aspect of Budo. When serving in active duty, he is a soldier that can be counted on in any situation, even if his samurai methods may be unorthodox at times. In the Army, Budo became 11 Bravo, an infantryman with a secondary specialty as a hand-to-hand combat instructor. In Marvel Comics and Larry Hama's A Real American Hero comic book series, Budo first appeared in issue 82. This is where Budo was given an opportunity to try out for the G.I. Joe team. He was sent to a remote and seemingly unused section of Fort Dix in New Jersey for his shakedown and subsequent tryout. Duke and Zap were training a new class that started with over 200 guys and with a higher attrition rate than Ranger School was cut down to less than 50. Those included Ice Pick, Bad News, Funky, No-Show, Blister, Desperado, Repeater, Lightfoot, and yes, Budo. After a 250 push-up exercise, the group met with Grand Slam and Roadblock in the mess hall for lunch. Then after 3 hours of being forced to stay awake watching driver and instructor videos, they had to compete in a big battle royale, all armed with pugil sticks. Budo, Lightfoot, and Repeater were the only ones to make it through, still standing on their feet. The 3 of them got a big meal as a celebration, and after resting for a bit to burn off some of that bloat from their celebratory meal, the trio were startled awake and told to kit up with full field gear and be on the flight line in 5 minutes. So Budo and the other 2 donned their gear and headed right out to the Tomahawk helicopter. The Picatinny arsenal was under attack by unknown forces, and they had to recon and help stop the attack. Duke, for some reason, said, "Do you hear that, Budo? We're going in blind." The team, along with Grand Slam, were dropped just outside of one of the entrances to the Army Proving Ground. Budo covered the left side of the road with Grand Slam, while Lightfoot and Repeater took the right side. Grand Slam got word over the radio that a truck had broken onto the grounds and were stealing high-tech weapons and equipment, and just as this came over the airwaves, Grand Slam was shot and struck down right in front of Budo. As Budo carried Grand Slam's body to safety, he shouted, "We have to hold this road at all costs." He then turned and said, "You've got seniority, Repeater," allowing him to take command. So Repeater had Budo head off to neutralize the flanking Cobra with his swords, and well, they were actually Iron Grenadiers in Viper gear. Either way, Budo took out about 10 of them by cutting them up with his sword and driving the rest right into the path of some time-delayed mines. And as they walked back to the Tomahawk at the end of the issue, Budo chatted with Repeater, teasing him, asking if he still thought this was a super realistic training exercise or not. And that was the last time we saw Budo in the Marvel Comics run on A Real American Hero. When the G.I. Joe team was stood down and the pit mothballed in 1994, when the Marvel run on ARAH ended, Budo was put on reserve status. During this time, he turned his interest and experience in covert operations into a successful and rather prosperous bounty hunting and bail bondsman career in Tokyo, Japan, and he did this together with Jinx, his longtime love interest. They were so good at this that they quickly became the pair with more arrests than any other police contractor in Tokyo's history. The Tokyo chief of police was persistent with his offers for both Budo and Jinx to join his police force, but they declined. They were still on active reserve with the Joes, and they needed to be ready to go as soon as they got a call from the team, so they couldn't be tied down to other commitments. That said, Budo enjoyed working with Jinx and liked being on reserve status so much that he also turned down an offer to go back to active status with the Joes. But then during the World War III event, both Budo and Jinx were called up to active status. They were assigned to take on Cobra in the China theater. Budo wouldn't be seen again until IDW's ARAH issue 201, where we learned that he had now been appointed as custodian and caretaker of the Arashikage Dojo in San Francisco after Storm Shadow had vacated the premises. He met up with Long Range, Alpine, and Muskrat, who were there to rebuild the dojo as a new West Coast base of operations. Budo told the three of them that they would need to inspect the ammo, strip and clean the weapons in the armory, and not to wear shoes in the dojo. After the pit was overrun during the Bob Graves rescue op in Sierra Gordo, the Joe team had decided to spread out, reactivating Fort Wadsworth, the San Francisco dojo, in addition to the main pit, which allowed them a higher readiness level and a quicker deployment and reaction time. So remember I mentioned Hama saying Budo has no connections to the Arashikage clan? Well, issue 203 seemingly retconned that piece of the story. When Tyrone's little brother Raymond came to the San Francisco Arashikage dojo, he was startled that Budo was there and not Blind Master. Raymond said, "If you are the same blood as Blind Master, I asked to take the blood oath and study the way." And Budo replied, "The Arashikage are a homeless clan now. We are all wave-tossed, but I shall consider your request. In the meantime, you can scrub the floor." So I suppose Budo is now part of the Fame clan that includes Blind Master, Soft Master, Hard Master, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Jinx, Firefly from when he infiltrated the clan as the Faceless Master, Demon Granny, Nunchuck, Jabang, Kamakura. So needless to say, it's a lot of pedigree, and the Arashikage are pervasive in the G.I. Joe franchise, so I guess it makes sense that Hama would now want to include Budo in that. Anyhow, in issue 209, when Alpine and the team got back from a mission in Olistan, they witnessed the final stages of Raymond's training in the US. It's almost time for him to go to finishing school in Japan, Budo told them. So after Raymond left, Budo went to the pit for the honor ceremony for Snake Eyes, who just lost his life protecting his team from Serpentor and a grenade. Then Hawk, Stalker, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Storm Shadow, and Budo took the USS Defiant space shuttle and landed it at Atsugi Naval Air Station in Japan for a covert operation. Hawk told the Atsugi base commander that this team was the best at what they do, and what they do is nothing you want to know about. Covert ops at its finest, Budo's favorite. They were there to stop and to bring in Don Moreno, who was rampaging through the Japanese underworld and cutting up an entire Red Ninja dojo. The mission was to defuse the situation without hurting anyone, minimize collateral damage, recover Don, and this would be accomplished, Storm Shadow said, with their quote-unquote special weapon, as he gestured toward Budo. The team jumped out of the helicopters that hovered over the Red Ninja dojo in Shinjuku and met up with Harada-san from the Japanese Ministry of Occult Martial Arts. At this time, Don had chased Firefly up onto a raised commuter rail track line, and they fought atop the moving train much in the same way that Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes did way back in issue 27. Scarlet and Budo jumped out of the chopper and onto the roof of the train right behind Firefly, and then Budo turned into Soft Master. The distraction allowed Don Moreno to get her blade to Firefly's throat and then to end her cycle of violence and revenge. But then Soft Master / Budo lunged and attacked Firefly, and they both tumbled over the side and fell off the train into the river below. So how did Budo do this? Well, it turns out this was not Budo. This was Zartan disguised as Budo and then Soft Master. The real Budo was still busy running the San Francisco dojo, and he was there in issue 260 when a kid named Milo was brought in for training after the op against Revanche Robotics that he assisted ambush, sightline, and bomb strike with just prior to this. Budo showed Raymond around the facility, introducing him to Alpine and Long Range, and then Raymond, who, in a full circle moment, then instructed Milo that he could start his training by scrubbing the floor. Issue 263 was a Memorial Day issue to honor fallen brothers, and while the soldiers, Marines, and Airmen paid their respects at Arlington Cemetery and on base, Budo, Raymond, and Milo at the dojo paid their own respects to their fallen masters their own way, kneeling before a shrine that held pictures of their fallen masters. A couple of issues later, the three of them headed to New York City into Granny's toy shop in the East Village of New York for Sean Collins' birthday party. Scarlet, Jinx, Helix, and Don Moreno were also there for the party. And then a couple issues after that, the Ninja Joes went to the Fort Wadsworth pit and were there when Laura 343 attacked with her army of HISS tanks and drivers, CGs, and Vipers. They assaulted the motor pool to capture Sean Collins, whom Cobra thought was still the original Snake Eyes but brought back from the dead. In the battle, Budo paired up with Jinx, he with his katana and she with her Naginata pole weapon. They were all hit with a gas grenade and nearly taken down. Budo was then hit in the arm with a shot from a Viper's rifle, shattering his shoulder armor plate. His helmet fell off as he fell down and disappeared into the green gas cloud from the deployed grenade. With Budo and the Joes subdued, Laura and her troops managed to capture Sean Collins, and they brought him to the community center in Springfield to be put into Dr. Mindbender's brainwave scanner. Don Moreno and Scarlet then got Budo up on his feet and treated him. He was okay, and the effects of the gas were wearing down as they quickly realized that Sean was now gone. Everyone, the entirety of the G.I. Joe roster, rallied for a rescue mission. Back in the East Village, Granny had her clan cross swords and she said, "The Arashikage and friends take care of our own. Sean is one of ours." And then she said, to Budo and the rest, "The Arashikage go to war." Though they were officially stood down from the mission, Granny and Milo got the team to go anyway. Unsanctioned as it now was, it didn't matter, they wanted Sean back. So on the train to Springfield, Budo and Jinx relaxed, playing Shang-Chi elephant chess. Jinx thought she was winning, and then Budo revealed he'd applied the precepts of Sun Tzu to the game. When they got off the train at Springfield Station, an officer asked them for their IDs, but Budo snuck up behind the law enforcement officer and applied the Arashikage death touch, but on stun. So he didn't kill the officer, he knocked him out. They couldn't risk being discovered, but anyways, it was a Cobra cop, so no harm, no foul. They got some taxis, and Granny told the drivers to head to Springfield General Hospital. Being that Don Moreno got her start with Cobra and in Springfield, she knew that there was a tunnel from the hospital to the community center where Sean was being held in the basement. They changed in the car to their battle gear and made their way to the tunnel system, following Don's lead. The ninja team met up with Snake Eyes, who had a shot Laura 343 slumped over his shoulder. They had to fight their way back into the community center, fighting through CGs on the way to linking up with the airborne team. Budo cut down one of the CGs with the long priest robe cut that Dawn instantly recognized and on whose execution she complimented Budo. In Mindbender's lab, Budo asked the ninja/airborne team, "So this is the notorious Mindbender lab?" And Storm Shadow replied, "It's where the magic happens, Budo." Torpedo blew the lab and the staircase, and the combined team then made their way back into the secret tunnels. They were then trapped. An entire platoon of Cobra blocked the path to the hospital, and even more Cobra elements were behind them, having now cleared the staircase. It was then that a furious battle erupted in the subterranean corridor. Laura 343 blew up some Cobra with a grenade and allowed the combined team, Budo included, to fight their way back up the stairs and right out the front door of the community center to the firefight that was unfolding outside. A ninja enfilade attack pushed Cobra away from the Joe buses and the command suburban, and then Budo and the team were able to push the Cobra line all the way back by charging their line with a Dreadnought Thunder Machine. Budo sliced up Vipers as he hung onto the outside of the Thunder Machine as it raced around the parking lot. And then, mission accomplished, the Joes rode out of Springfield with Sean now back safely with the team. Presumably, this is when Budo returned to his post in San Francisco with Raymond and Milo, and where we'll see him deployed from sometime in the future. On the animated side, Budo was in neither Sunbow nor the DK animated series. As with others, he was only animated for the accompanying television commercials. Budo's first action figure was released in 1988. Clad in brown, gray, and red armor, he got a plate carrier whose design was blended with traditional Karuta armor designs. In 1993, Budo got a second figure. Here he swapped out the previous color scheme for something more 90s, blue and orange and black and silver. This figure was part of the Menace in the Wilderness 4-pack mail-in offer, along with Spirit, Big Ben, and Big Bear, the International Action Force. The included file card says that Japan had sent Budo, one of its greatest samurai warriors, who plans on slicing Cobra into tiny pieces of snake meat. There was supposed to be another Budo in 1994 for the Ninja Commando line, but that was cancelled. So this cancelled mold was then used for Shang Tsung of the Mortal Kombat movie figure line the next year, and then that mold was then sent off to Hasbro's licensing partner in India named Fun School, who used the mold for their own Fun School International figure. Fun School in turn either gave, sold, or leased the mold to a Russian company named Two Beatles, who in 1998 gave us a Russian version of Budo. And there the mold stayed, never to return to Hasbro. So in 2013, Budo did get another figure for the G.I. Joe Retaliation line, but now, without that old mold, they had to use parts from the Red Ninja, Bludgeon, and the 2011 version of Storm Shadow. This Budo was fully decked out in bright red samurai attire, complete with a Kuwagata-crested Kabuto helmet that, according to the box itself, was armor used by his samurai ancestors. And then in 2018, a figure subscription service figure was released, which brought Budo full circle and gave him his classic, albeit updated, 1988 design. And with that, that's a wrap on this one, my friends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll be one of the first to know when I upload videos just like this each and every week. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.